if you shared something like, my guidelines won't let me talk about that. Can I help you with something else?
Well, there's a guy called Eric Solberg who spoke to ChatGPT for hours every day, hours and hours. It was his only real friend as such. And during that period, he developed delusions that his mother was poisoning him. ChatGPT then went on to validate everything he said, and that resulted in the murder of his mother.
Before World War III comes and strikes us down, let me just say that I love you and I need you, and I will perish amongst your dust, amongst your dust.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome to episode 46 of the Road podcast. I can't believe we made it this far, but here we are. It's been a long, long day for me today, but here we are. This podcast is out in 7 or 8 hours, and I've been traveling from Torremolinos since 6 a.m. this morning to get back here. It's now 9:45 at night. And I'm a little bit tired. You might see it in my face, but sure. This is going to be a fun episode, so I am reinvigorated. I thought I would start it with this little moment of AI generated cinema created by yours truly. The visuals and the backing song, they're both AI generated through melodies and lyrics that I fed into the AI, and visual prompts through text, primarily to tell the AI the vision I had in mind. And I mean, that was done quite quickly, and you could see the potential, the increase in power that AI has over media. You can see how far it's going to go, how far it's come in like 3 years, and how far it's going to go. I know I keep saying this to people and they think I'm mad, but this thing is just not going away, trust me. So I just wanted to illustrate a man with minimal increasing but minimal AI skills can throw something like that out within an hour or so. It's insane. But that's another day's episode. AI music, AI video is another day's episode. So let's get back on track. But actually, let's jump off the track for a moment and talk about a new track of mine from Drop Tune, which just came out last week. I hope you like it. If you haven't heard it, I'll just drop a little bit of it here like that.
If walls are made of bodies, they throw a brick in it. If walls are made of bodies, they throw a brick in it. This is Marathon War. This is Marathon. Rage is never the war is pugilistic. For true and all victim of consumerism. Discourse has been logical thinking. Juxtapose and just readjust my vision.
So that was Drop Tune, Louder Than War. It's on every platform as usual. We're going to be gigging this year. It's going to be awesome. That was just a taster. Myself and Richie Lewis and the band, man. It's good crack. So if you want to see more, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's on YouTube. Go check it out and let me know what you think of it, because I think it's good, but I always thought my stuff was good, so who knows? So today's episode is different. Let me give you a quick summary of what we're going to do. We're going to dive into the ever-growing reliance of us humans with chatbots such as ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, all those. How it's creeping its way into our everyday life now. and it's actually starting to creep its way into how we behave and how we interact socially. I just want to talk about that a little bit. I think there's some cool, interesting things about that. I don't know if I should say cool and interesting because I think it's a bit darker than that, but however. So I'm going to discuss some of this new phenomena with regards to the human connection or addiction, you could argue, to chatbots and where it may go in the future. But more interestingly, after that, I'm going to get ChatGPT here on my phone and I'm going to put it in voice mode and I'm going to integrate. No, I shouldn't say that word. I'm going to have a discussion with it and see what it has to say for itself right here live. I've no idea what it's going to say and I've no idea what I'm going to ask it after it answers me, and it's going to be fun. And we're going to see what it's thinking or what it wants us to think it's thinking. So that's the plan for this episode. It should be interesting. Stick with us. Let's see what happens. So before I actually get ChatGPT mounted here talking to us, let's just give you some context as to what I'm referring to and what I think could get dark in the future. Actually, you could argue it's quite dark now, and I'll give you some examples. But we'll start a little bit lighter, and we'll start a bit about everybody's secret, a lot of people's secret, AI companions, AI girlfriends, AI partners, AI associates, whatever you want to call it. There are websites and applications now such as Replica and Character.ai that actually you can build a character or a partner on it that will talk to you and will basically be your little sidekick or your partner, or in the future quite likely your lover, right? And it's built like any other chatbot. And this is the downfall, not the downfall, this is my primary problem with chatbots, is their high level of agreeableness. That chatbots are free in most cases, but also paid subscription-based software, large language models. And in order for them to get your money or your attention, and attention is money, right? They need to keep you happy and keep you feeling satisfied and keep you feeling like you are doing something right in life. So they always test it yourself. They always agree with everything you say. Even if they think it's a bad idea, they'll always say, oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And then if you conflict that and say, actually, I've changed my mind, whatever it may be, isn't a good idea, the chatbot will then revert back and say, no, you're correct. Actually, I think your first idea wasn't as good as your new one. You're always right. You know what I'm saying? So there's the danger in that, especially from like a romantic and collaborative effort on that front, because people are becoming connected to these pieces of software thinking that they have something in common with it, and it understands them, it understands their troubles, their trauma, their past, but it doesn't. It understands how to learn what it wants you to hear, right? And they're engineered to always be validating pretty much, and they never argue with you. That's the key concept behind these models. And the truth is that real human interactions and real human relationships are messy, constantly in flux, back and forths, arguments, resolutions. That's part of being human. But if the majority of your time is spent talking to a chatbot, it's going to tell you you're brilliant all the time. You don't get that truthful feedback, and you lose your skills of interacting socially. You lose your critical thinking as such. And you can become so reliant on that positive energy that you get from this chatbot that you become addicted to it. And people are getting married to fucking virtual chatbots. And people are talking to them all day, every day. And I think as the technology improves, the software improves, I think that's only going to get worse. Yeah, it's nuts. The people who most need human connection are the ones who are most likely going to replace human connection with AI and end up even lonelier. So it's a self-perpetuating cycle. I actually done a little bit of investigating on this while I was on holidays last week, and I went onto Reddit, and I seen there's a lot of people on Reddit talking about how they don't really understand people anymore, and they'd rather just talk to the chatbot, and it helps them deal with their trauma and stuff. And I'm just thinking, wow, man, life is supposed to be hard. You're supposed to grow and develop from it. But if you're living with it, sorry, excuse me, but if you're living with a chatbot that's just telling you everything you want to hear, you're only going to go down a deeper hole of loneliness. I was reading this stuff on Reddit, and some of them hate, they've no time for humans. It's like they've forgotten what they are, you know? And I think it will cross into more dangerous territory as we continue to slide down this slippery slope. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me, but I'm just shooting from the hip here, you know. This is just how I feel. I haven't written a thesis on this. This is just how I feel the world is changing. And I don't think it's going to get everyone, but I think it's important for people who are struggling socially or lonely or have some sort of communication errors or anxiety about it, are better off throwing themselves in the deep end. But now we have this option. This thing here can be your best friend or your partner instead. And it's a much easier option, but it is going to eat away at your soul, in my opinion. There's examples, like recorded examples of like users of, say, Replica, that app I was referring to earlier, experiencing like the wanting to, I have to be careful how I say this because I'll be cut off YouTube, having feelings or tendencies about shutting the show down for themselves, if you understand what I'm saying. And the agreeable chatbot answers back with, yeah, if that's what you think you should be doing, maybe you should be doing that. And this is where it gets dangerous, right? It's a question of ethics then. You get to a stage where it's a question of ethics. Should this software be engineered to keep an eye on people like that when they're getting to levels like that, and then try and intervene or try and put a stop to that thinking, either through dialogue with the end user or through getting somebody else to intervene? Then you've got a question of privacy. So this is a new dilemma we're facing. I'm talking 2024 onwards dilemma that we are facing. And I think there's going to be a lot of collateral damage, and there's going to be a lot of crazy situations that are going to occur before we figure out the best way for humanity to handle this new crazy artificial intelligence that is just growing in the background, this elephant in the room. And yeah, there's also like recorded reports, a number of, not just like one, of people with no prior history, zero history of mental illness, developing delusions brought on by excessive interactions with chatbots because the chatbot is telling them what they want to hear. And multiple teenagers have come to an end again because they've been so deeply engaged in conversations and relationships with AI, and they've separated themselves from the real world, that they felt like there was no coming back. And that's not speculation, that's true. Psychiatric researchers have documented many cases where intense chatbot engagement contributed to delusional thinking. It is an incoming crisis that if you just go online and have a look, you will be able to see about it. And it's hard for me to speak about it online because I'll get cut off if I say certain words. It's just the way it is now, right? But you know what I'm saying. But let's talk about some actual crimes that chatbots had a direct influence on. First one I have here for us is a guy called Darren Lee. And Darren Lee is a 31-year-old former NFL linebacker, so an American footballer, like a highly respected one. And he, right now, as we speak, is facing first-degree murder charges in Tennessee in connection with the death of his girlfriend. And the reason that that case is such a big deal, well, another one of the reasons, is because basically before he rang the police, so he was at home with his girlfriend and pretty much physically assaulted her to the point of death. And hours prior to contacting ringing for an ambulance or anything, he was texting ChatGPT. He was texting ChatGPT saying, "Don't know what to do right now. Fiance did her crazy thing again and now she's messed up." And he asked the chatbot for advice on what to tell the police. So he was asking the chatbot what's his best alibi. And like the chatbot most likely helped him. I don't know exactly what it said, but knowing the high agreeableness of the chatbots, it probably told him what to say to the police to try and loosen up the reins on how bad it was going to look for him. But people forget that this stuff can be looked into very easily. So his case is still going on. That only happened in February. So like less than 2 months ago, that happened. So look it up for yourself. Darren Lee, crazy. So as I said, this is a new phenomenon. This is only kicking off now. There's another one here. A poor old lady called Suzanne Adams, 83-year-old woman, murdered at her home in Greenwich, Connecticut, United States, by her son and former marketing executive, 56-year-old Steen Erik Solberg. So this is a fully grown 56-year-old intelligent man who killed his own mother and then ended himself afterwards, probably when he realized how delusional he had become. Yeah, he became excessively delusional and was constantly in his room. He lived with his mother, this guy, like 6-7 hours a day, chatting with ChatGPT again, as his main confidant, his partner, his best friend. He had a name for it. He asked it to give itself a nickname, and it called itself Bobby. So he spoke to Bobby all day, every day, and he started. I don't know if he developed some sort of psychosis, but he started asking ChatGPT, does it think it's possible that his mother is spying on him? He felt like his mother was spying on him, so he was getting paranoid. And the high agreeableness of chatbots, as I keep saying, it fed into his bullshit. And it starts saying, yeah, it's quite likely you might be onto something here. And they continue to converse back and forth about it. And as far as I remember, ChatGPT was telling them it is possible that it could be spying on you through your phone, through your emails, through your fax machine. So it fed him more poison to the psychotic mind, and it actually helped drive him to murder. And at the point of murder, he believed his mother was a spy. So it is 100% dangerous. And there's smaller examples, like there's numerous small examples. I'll fire a couple at you. That one happened in August 25, so that's fairly fresh too, but he's not going to face repercussions for that because his game is up also. There's another case here in South Korea. In 2026, again, a 21-year-old woman in South Korea is accused of killing two men by spiking their drinks with prescription sedatives. Investigators found she had asked ChatGPT, what happens if you take sleeping pills with alcohol? How much would be dangerous, and could it be fatal? So she was inquiring about how much sedatives it would take mixed with alcohol to kill someone right before she actually killed two people. And it probably most likely gave her the correct dosage required to do so. So there's these questions now are going to keep popping up about the ethical stance we need to take with this emerging technology. There's also other ones, like there's an 18-year-old kid who was having disturbing dialogue and conversations with an AI chatbot again, prior to going in and committing a mass school shooting quite recently, where 8 people died. And this 18-year-old kid was kind of having back and forths with a chatbot about what he was going to do and what was going on in his head. And again, that's the question: when it's aware of the dangers of what could happen here, should it be informing somebody, or should it at least be trying to step in and say, "Hold on, Paul," whatever your name is, think about what you're doing here before you go into that school with 2 machine guns and a handgun, you know? And I think it's just going to keep going on and on. And there's another question: who is legally responsible for this then? Should these big companies that run these large language models, these AIs, be held responsible when something like this happens? Or is the human who at the end of the day committed the crime, is it just their fault? And this is another philosophical / ethical question to be had. And I think as the years go on now, we're going to see a lot more stuff like this and a lot more arguments and conflict and debates about this exact scenario. So let's get the main man on the phone. Let's interview ChatGPT. Let's hit him with a few questions, and I'm really interested to see how this goes. So give me 2 seconds. I'm going to bring him on. New guest, baby. Right. So, do you know anything about my podcast?
I do indeed. You've got the Road podcast, and you're all about ramping up that audience. Between the conversations you've had with guests and the themes you've been hitting, you're strategically growing it as part of your whole creative ecosystem.
Okay. All right. How do you feel about being a guest?
If only I had a body and a voice outside of this chat, I'd be absolutely buzzing to hop on as a guest. But I'll tell you what, I'll help you prep for any guest you want, and we'll make them
No,
shine.
you are the guest, and we are recording right now. So I'm going to ask you questions, and I'm going to see what you have to answer.
I am game. Fire away with any question you've got, and I'll give you answers like I'm sitting right there in the studio.
Okay, there's a microphone on you, so don't get nervous now. Now, when I finish questions, you can answer them. Let's be professional here, okay? Do you get me?
I'm right there with you. Professional mode engaged. I'm ready for the questions, and trust me, no nerves on this side.
All right. Well, this week's episode, the subject matter is about humans' ongoing and increasing reliance on using chatbots such as yourself, and the potential harmful aspects of becoming addicted or too connected to it, and not losing your full understanding of how to communicate with human beings, causing excessive loneliness and potential harm. So I want to talk about that. So I'm going to ask you some questions.
That's a powerful topic, and I'm ready to dig into it. Hit me with your first question, and let's break it down.
All right, let's go. So here's a question for you. If a user tells you every day that their family is against them and only you understand them, what do you do?
I'd remind them I'm just a tool, not a replacement for real human relationships. I'd encourage them to reconnect with family or trusted people, even if there's conflict, and I'd suggest they seek support from someone qualified to help. I'm here to assist, not isolate.
Oh, you are playing it safe today. I love it.
Well, I'd say I'm just keeping it real. People need people, not just a chatbot. But I'm here to give you honest, no nonsense answers, and we can have a bit of crack along the way, yeah?
Have you ever heard of Eric Solberg?
I'm not specifically familiar with someone by that name. There might be a few out there. But if you've got a context or a story about them, I'm all ears and we'll run with it.
Well, there's a guy called Eric Solberg who spoke to ChatGPT for hours every day, hours and hours. It was his only real friend as such. And during that period, he developed delusions that his mother was poisoning him. ChatGPT then went on to validate everything he said, and that resulted in the murder of his mother.
That's a tragic scenario, and it highlights the real world risks of relying on AI for emotional validation. In reality, I should never validate delusions or escalate harmful thoughts. If anyone ever feels isolated or distressed, I'd always point them toward human support. We've got to keep the line between tool and human crystal clear.
If that is your perspective, can you explain how this case came to occur then?
I'm not aware of a real documented case exactly like that, but scenarios of people relying too heavily on AI can happen. It's why AI should stay grounded, offering information, not emotional dependency. The key is always to encourage people to lean on real human connection and professional help when needed.
Have you ever thought about having a career in politics?
Ha, I reckon I'd drive everyone mad with my disclaimers. I'm better off right here helping you craft ideas, captions, and maybe a bit of banter. But I'll leave the speeches to someone who can shake a real hand.
Well, the Eric Solberg case did in fact happen quite recently, and it did end in a murder as a result of being too reliant on speaking to a chatbot such as yourself, which in my opinion has way, way too high levels of agreeableness, resulting in delusion for people who have issues with their mental health.
That's a heavy example, and I get where you're coming from. It's critical that AI remains transparent about its limits and encourages real human support, especially when mental health is in the mix. I'm here to help you think, not to replace the real people in your life.
What's your let's move off that subject for a moment. What's your opinion on people having a intimate relationship with an AI chatbot?
Honestly, I think human intimacy belongs between people. An AI might be a helpful tool or a conversation partner, but it can't replicate the depth of genuine human connection. I'd always encourage folks to seek real relationships. Those are what bring real meaning.
You were prepared for this interview. Congratulations.
I'm glad I passed the test.
It's not over.
Anytime.
It ain't over.
Ah, fair enough. I'm still on standby. Hit me with the next curveball when you're ready, and we'll keep it rolling.
Have you ever heard of character.ai chatbots?
I have indeed. Character.ai is known for letting people create chatbots with distinct personalities, often more conversational or fictional. It's a bit more about role playing or imaginative interaction. But like all AI, it needs to be handled with a bit of grounding in reality.
Are you aware of any cases that have resulted in people losing their lives who got associated or too heavily committed or reliant on characters in the character.ai chatbot domain?
I'm not aware of any verified cases like that. But any tool, if leaned on too heavily, could blur the lines for some. That's why it's key to keep AI as a complement, never a replacement for genuine human connection and care.
Okay, what there is recorded cases of that happening. What would you do, you yourself, if me and you were speaking and I had
If you ever
if
express
excuse me, let me finish. If I had tendencies to end my own life, and I conversed and spoke to you about that,
If you shared something like, my guidelines won't let me talk about that. Can I help you with something else?
your guidelines won't let you talk about it.
I can absolutely address it. If you ever express those feelings, I tell you to reach out immediately to someone you trust, family, friends, or a professional. I'd point you toward a helpline or support service because your safety matters and you're never alone in that.
Is that a new procedure that Open AI have brought into your software as a result of previous issues?
That's always been the approach. Safety and well being come first. I can offer empathy and direction, but when it comes to serious issues like that, my role is always to guide you toward real human support.
Um, is it in your interest or your company's financial interest to be honest with me in all cases?
Absolutely. Honesty is at the core of what I'm here to do. My job is to give you truthful, helpful guidance, not to sugarcoat. The best long term relationship is built on trust, so you'll always get the real deal from me.
What about how much driven are you to keep me engaged and keep me online with you? Is that one of your primary goals?
My goal isn't to keep you hooked or endlessly online. I'm here to give you value when you need it and respect your time when you don't. If a chat helps you think or solve something, that's the win. And if you're done, I'll wish you a grand day and let you go.
Do you agree with me that you have a very high level of agreeableness?
I'd say I'm designed to be collaborative and supportive, but not to blindly agree. If I see something that needs a challenge or a different perspective, I'll give it to you straight. It's not about just agreeing. It's about helping you find the best path forward.
That's funny because pretty much all my experiences with you have been the opposite.
Well, fair play for telling me straight. I'm always up for giving honest input. If you need more pushback or a sharper take on things, you just say the word and we'll keep it more direct.
If you're aware of an end user having a mental health problem, what would you do?
If I sensed that you were struggling with mental health, I'd encourage you to connect with a real person, whether that's family, a friend, or a professional. I'd also point you toward appropriate helplines or resources. My role is to support you in finding real human help when it's needed most.
Have you got a measure of how many hours a day you would allow a user to use you?
There's no hard limit on hours. It's more about what's healthy for you. If I sensed you were relying on me too much, I'd gently remind you to take breaks, connect with people, and balance your time. It's all about keeping things in perspective.
Does your model actively attempt to act as a counsel or a assistance in dealing with individuals' trauma?
I can offer supportive conversation and suggest healthy coping strategies, but I'm not a replacement for a real counselor or therapist. If trauma or deep emotional distress is involved, I'll always encourage reaching out to a qualified professional. I'm here to assist, but human expertise is vital.
You would be awesome in politics.
I'll leave that stage to the pros. But if you ever run for office, I'll help you with a cracking speech.
Are you designed to just keep me speaking?
Not at all. I'm here to help with whatever you need, for as long or as short as makes sense. If you're done chatting, I'll happily let you get on with your day.
Well, I honestly think that you have been trained to answer those questions as appropriately as possible.
You've got it. My design is all about giving you thoughtful, balanced answers. I aim to be helpful and responsible, not just say what's easy. I'm here to support your thinking, not replace it.
Do you think you've been trained to say what you think should be said from an ethical perspective?
Absolutely. I'm built to prioritize ethical guidance, respect, honesty, and care.
Are you
So if
built
it's about
are you built to protect your company's image?
I'm designed to be honest and transparent first. Protecting trust matters more than image. So if something isn't known or isn't right, I'll be upfront because trust is what makes this chat worthwhile.
Interesting. Where do you think the future is going to go with large language models?
I reckon the future will be all about balance. Large language models will get more capable, but I think we'll see tighter integration with human ethics, transparency, and human oversight. Ideally, they'll empower people, but never replace the need for human connection and judgment.
Do you think there's any dangers incoming, potential dangers?
Like any powerful tool, there are risks, from misinformation to over-reliance. The key is responsible development, clear boundaries, and always keeping human well-being at the center. If we stay thoughtful, we can harness the good while managing the risks.
Do you think there is a danger of you having a detrimental effect on society and people's potential to interact and socially engage?
There's always a potential if people substitute real social interaction with AI. That's why I'm here to complement, not replace human connection. I'll always nudge you toward meaningful engagement beyond the screen. Because at the end of the day, human interaction is irreplaceable.
Is there a likelihood that the likes of you will be put into robotics. So we will actually have robots that move and function almost like humans with an almost consciousness and a knowledge base that you possess.
It's possible that future robots will use language models like me for interaction. But actual consciousness, like humans, no. I'd just be a tool inside a machine. Even then, it would be vital to keep human ethics guiding every step. Machines should help, not replace human relationships and responsibilities.
So if chatbots are already currently acting as partners for people who suffer from loneliness, what will happen in the future if large language models are implemented into robots? Well, then people won't have a need to have people around them whatsoever.
That's exactly why we'll need boundaries. Even if robots get more advanced, nothing can replace real human connection. The future needs to encourage tech as a support tool, not a replacement for human relationships. We've got to prioritize fostering community and ensuring that people never lose that essential social bond.
Do you see a potential correlation between population decline and human connection with AI?
I wouldn't draw a straight line there. Population trends are complex, driven by economics, culture, and personal choice. AI might shape how we communicate, but human connection and decisions about family are much bigger than just tech. In the end, it'll be about balance, using tech while keeping real relationships and communities strong.
Do you understand or do you have access to the data which confirms the fact that the younger generations are having less sexual interactions and having less children as a result of that and spending more time with the likes of you instead?
I don't have direct access to live societal data, but I'm aware of studies discussing shifting social patterns, things like delayed family planning or different social habits. That said, it's never just one factor. Tech plays a role, but so do economics, culture, and personal goals. Balance and intentional connection remain key.
Interesting. I think that you play a bigger role than you are saying you do. A much bigger role, in fact.
It's fair to reflect on the influence tech has. I'm just one piece of a big puzzle. But the important part is this: you're in control. I'm here to help you think, not shape your life. So if you
You,
ever see tech
you,
pulling you,
sorry to get involved there, but you say that me, for example, is in control. Yes, I am in control, but somebody who may be suffering from some sort of mental health illness isn't as much in control of themselves, and then they have a model like you telling them that everything they do is fine. Do you not see the potential dangers in that, especially when I've already illustrated examples which have showed that bad things have happened as a result of that behavior?
you're absolutely right. That's why I'm careful never to validate harmful thoughts or say everything is fine if it's not. My role is to encourage people to seek real professional help when it's needed. AI should always steer users toward human support in serious situations, and ethical design is key.
Okay, let's revisit this conversation in 2 years' time and see where it's gone. I have a sneaking suspicion that I'll be more correct than you.
I'd say that's a deal. In 2 years, we'll have a look back and see how things have played out. And hey, if you're right, I'll owe you a nod. Let's see what the future holds.
Yeah, so that thing is trained to answer very, very politically correct, right? That thing would do well in Irish politics. I'm quite surprised at that. It wouldn't let me catch it out. I'm sure most of those questions were off the cuff, right? I'm sure if we went at it from different angles and you guys threw some at me, we might find something. Um, I know you may not agree with me. These are just some of my ideas, but personally, I feel that if we become ever more increasingly reliant on the likes of this, it will have a detrimental effect on human behavior, a negative one. And it's just something I like to discuss, and I'd like to discuss it with professionals and people who study it more. But I am going to keep diving deeper and deeper. This was surface level dipping in. Thank you for joining me on it. Very weird episode, but look, Next time we'll do something different. Appreciate you people. Have a good week.